Hey Scott, happy Tuesday. How are you?
I am great, Robin. Nice to see you again. How's everything going?
Good, just excited that it's May. I know all the educators and school leaders and faculty and students out there are super excited that they can see the finish line coming around at the end of the corner, right? So just
No
excited
doubt.
to just it's funny and exciting to just read all the posts out there online. The students that are just like, oh, it's finally here. I'm graduating, or what have you, and the teachers that are like, can I make it through, the next 2 weeks? The
Yep.
countdown.
I absolutely 100%. It happens everywhere across the country. I volunteered in my son's first grade class this week, and you could just see the squirminess. It was first thing on Monday, so the kids were supposedly at their peak of attention, and it was just squirminess everywhere. You can tell like spring fever's in the air, and everybody's ready for the year to end and summer to be here.
Yeah, totally. I was saw my nephew who's in college now over the weekend, and he was given the higher ed perspective of student lens of so this is what I can make on my final exam and still have this grade in the course. I definitely remember those days too, where you're figuring out the math on what you needed to have on the final exam. So
Yeah.
everybody's in that mode. So, but I'm
Wow.
excited to wrap up this school year and then start planning and getting ready for the next school year, which will be here before we know it. It was just that cycle of our industry, right? So
Absolutely.
well, we'll kind of maybe just jump in and we'll do some recognition of some things that we saw out on the web this week that we wanted to highlight first tonight. So we're going to do some epic stuff we've seen, and then we'll jump in and bring our guests on here shortly, which I'm super excited to chat with. But we'll give a kickoff and recognize our first two, which is Julia and Sally from Florida. And we're just really excited to see them singing their praises of Power Automate and the entire Power platform online here. So it's always really impressive to see how many different ways people can come up and use Power Platform. I know I was just talking about an example just yesterday with some of our leadership internally and the amount of time that school districts are saving by creating and customizing some apps that are built just for them to save that time and make things much more efficient. So it's just really great to see that happening at the University of Florida, and also impacting the higher ed space as well as the K-12 space. And if you haven't already given a try to Power Platform or what that can do, we definitely suggest you should check it out. It's where your imagination can come to life and you can make things happen, right? Do a little bit of hacking to solve some problems that you guys have, and produce something that will be usable by all staff and students and make some more efficiencies. So thanks, Julia and Sally, for your share. And then the next one we have from our friend Amanda Macias in California. So Amanda is really it's really sharing the impact of Immersive Reader, but it's the impact on her life too. And that, she's just recognizing that you don't necessarily have to have a learning disability or, make them only available for those who quote unquote need them. We all can leverage these tools in our lives. So just really excited to see Amanda share her love of Immersive Reader and what can be used by all learners, or both adults as well as students, and those who have learning disabilities and those who do not. So there's so many ways to use that tool. So thanks for that shout out, Amanda, of Immersive Reader. I do think it is a game changer and helps with equity conversations all around education.
I use it all the time, Robin, for like emails and formal letters, just to hear my words read back to me. And it's amazing how many times you catch things you don't catch when you just read it, right, as an editor.
Right, totally. I've heard several kids say that. They write papers and then they have Immersive Reader play them back for them.
Yeah, powerful tool. Sometimes you're a little bit horrified by what you hear back, but hopefully it helps you move in the right direction anyway.
That's all that matters, improvement.
Exactly. Our last one this week is our beloved crew from Georgia. The Georgia MIEE crew has long been a very strong group in our MIEE community. And we just love this share from Kristen and the gang out there in Georgia of just getting together. They're a very social group. If you know any of them, Kristen and Mary Hoffmeister and the crew out there, very, very social group. But they do a wonderful job of bringing people together. And as nominations are coming up here pretty soon, in just about a week or so, we thought it was a really good time to share just one more angle of what the MIEE community can offer, not just a resource or an ear, but just sometimes a connection, just a fun group of educators who have a lot in common to hang out with. So we obviously thank the Georgia MIEE crew for their passion and for their inspiration to encourage other groups, other states, other regions to grow the number of MIEs they have in their area. So kudos to you all and a really great job. And Robin, this week, before we bring on Holly and Jimmy from Hillsborough County, we wanted just to quickly dive into the ETF. We know we may have some viewers that aren't super familiar with it. So I thought I'd kick it over to you. Maybe you could give us just kind of a general overview of the ETF and kind of use that as a lead into our conversation tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure, we need to set some context here before we bring our guests on. So essentially at Microsoft Education, we have done tons of investment to put together some research of what does really school transformation look like and what should you be considering. And through all the research and the studies that we put together and sponsored, and tons of school leaders, teachers, students, all were part of this research over a long period of time. And it was global research done too. It was not just research that happened here inside the US, but we were basically took all the research and then built a framework to help schools understand what they need to be thinking about, cognizant about, planning for if they really want to go through some transformation processes. I think a lot of times people think, oh, you're Microsoft, so all you really care about is the technology in the school, like the physical hardware and the software that's being used. But it's you're not going to be successful if that's all you're thinking about. So this framework really does provide that view into a holistic transformation plan, right? Looking at leadership and policy, and do you have the right policies in place? Are the leaders on board in the district? What does your leadership, scaling capability look like inside of a school district, et cetera? And then obviously teaching and learning, the heart of what we know actually is happening in the classroom. It's building, making sure that you have the right curriculum in place, that your teachers have the right professional development and training supports that they need to be successful, that they do have the right tools for teaching and learning, et cetera, et cetera. So looking at teaching and learning, which I think people focus on a lot, but it's more than just that. You have to kind of continue on, right? And it's looking at defining what student and school success looks like. What are your success metrics for students? How do you keep students, retain students, attract students, make sure that they are being taught as the entire whole student, right? And looking at how do you ensure equity with the students as well, and that you're not having different outcomes at certain parts of your school district because maybe school students have access to different things. It's really looking at an equitable lens for all students in order to be successful. And then the last one is really looking at intelligent environments. It's, do you have the right data and analytics in place to make informed decisions for transformation? Because if you're not leveraging the data to inform your decisions, then you're just looking at a bunch of numbers and you're making judgments without potentially using that data in a smart way, or applying on some artificial intelligence there in order to speed things up, make things more personalized, remove some of the human capital that it often takes for some of this to happen. And so we know that, when you leverage data, AI, and machine learning in an environment, you're going to get more rapid, intelligent information to be able to move forward and progress. So when we take a look at the ETF framework, this is what we're kind of looking at we're looking at these four main pillars. And are you devising a plan, a strategy to implement all of these pieces? Because if you only focus in one of these buckets, or even if you focus in two of these buckets, you're not going to have a full, strong, sustainable plan for transformation. So that's a little bit about the framework. It's what we are grounded in here at Microsoft. It's kind of our guide as to why we develop products that align to one of these things inside the education space. And where we see gaps, that's where we then inform our engineering team, hey, our schools, our universities are asking to solve these problems. And so we align potential solutions or the next product that's built based on some of the gaps that are identified by the users, the teachers, the students, the faculty.
And one of the things I like, Robin, among many with the ETF and how guides conversations, is the way that each pillar is broken down. So it's not, and there's information online that we'll share at the end, a bunch of resources, but it's not just these big picture ideas, right? There's tangible topics and conversations that you can have. And I think that's where, in particular, our guests tonight, Holly and Jimmy, are really going to provide some wonderful experience and insight into their process, because they've recently gone through an ETF cohort amongst their district, not to mention the fact that they're a district team, not just a school team. So really looking forward to hearing from them. And I think probably a good time to bring them on. What do you say?
Let's do it. They're the stars of the show.
No doubt about it. So we have from Hillsborough County Public Schools, we have Holly Holland and Jimmy Weaver. Holly is a digital integration specialist. So she is in and out of multiple classrooms, meeting with teachers, trying to help them integrate technology effectively. And Jimmy is a senior systems analyst on the customer success team. That is one heck of a fancy title. I love that. His team sits under IT services. So he's inevitably handling a bunch of the back end stuff, right? So between the two of them, we have a nice mix of experience. And Holly and Jimmy, we are thrilled to have you here. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
You bet. So we mentioned that.
Go ahead, Scott.
No, go ahead, Robin. You're good. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I love the fact that we've got a IT leader and an instructional leader here together. And so many districts that I've worked with throughout the years, these folks are on different islands and they often are combative sometimes with each other. So having both of you here, like actively working together for the in good of the students in Hillsborough is just amazing. So I just want to start off by saying thank you and kudos to you for working together collaboratively together on building a transformation for your school district. So hats off. But as we get started, I kind of just wanted to jump in. So for those of you that are watching, Hillsborough has been part of our ETF workshops that we put together for our Incubator and Showcase School program here at Microsoft. It's an opportunity that they have to go through the Etf Framework, kind of break it down, look at the different pillars, and then start building their own plan so that they leave with something tangible to be able to use and build upon as they move forward. So just curious from you two, you participated in this workshop. What are your big takeaways from that cohort? And then what are you intending to do as your next steps from going through the workshop process?
Well, I'll say that just a few of the big takeaways was it was just really nice to have that designated time to get together. Our teams have really started, both of our teams have been working a lot together lately this school year, and I know it's going to continue on, but just having that time to sit and go through the pillars. And honestly, I learned so much about the pillars. I mean, being an MIE expert, I was not aware of all the resources that were available within there. You know about it, but I learned so much. But it was just nice to be able to have that time to have that conversation, and the graphic organizers that were provided to like lay out our, priorities, the matrix, and creating those SMART goals. And each time we met, we had time to meet as our group and really think about what we were going to be putting down there, what were our meaningful goals, who do we need to talk to, and other things like that. What were you thinking, Jimmy?
What I really thought was neat about it was that we weren't that far off from what the other schools around the nation that were part of that cohort, where they were at. It felt like the places where maybe we were growing and transforming and needed to get better, that they were experiencing the same things. And so it was really neat on that aspect, that even though we are a very big district and we were trying to look at it from a district point of view, that the schools that were there with us were experiencing the same thing. So the discussion was really good every time we were there.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things I was super interested in, Jimmy, going into it, that came to be true. And as one of the 4 facilitators on behalf of NCCE that hosted the cohorts, we weren't quite sure what to expect, right? But we really felt that as facilitators too, that common thread. And I think that was powerful for you all to see that. Moving forward, how do you leverage that? How do you leverage the lessons learned? Are you looking at, one pillar as like the main focus? what's the like first step that came from that cohort in terms of, you know, actionable items that you really are working on amongst your district leadership team?
Well, I'll go ahead and start in this one. I think we sort of came up with probably one big thing from each of the 4 pillars that we wanted to sort of focus on. And one of the big things that we took away from it was our 2 groups. We have a lot of influence, but our influence sort of goes down, and we needed to be able to get this started at the top of our district with the cabinet level and then curriculum and subject supervisors. So one of the things that came out of this is we started what we're calling a Hillsborough Influencer Academy, where we're starting with those subject directors, curriculum writers, and even during the summer, we're going to hold one with cabinet level, superintendent cabinet level people to explain the ETF to them so that we get that executive buy-in and we can really push it down through our district.
Yeah, so we're starting the conversations of, so those that went through the HIA, and that we're calling it. They went through that Hillsborough Influencer Academy. We're meeting with them and talking to the curriculum writers, because through our conversations was really thinking of how are we going to get our teachers on board, thinking of it, like Robin said, beyond just that tech tool. Oh, you could use it this way, but really thinking about making it where it's student choice options, and it doesn't have to just be a specific lesson on a Tech Tuesday. And really thinking about, that's what led us to getting the curriculum writers in and having those conversations. And so meeting with social studies and science and literacy, they're like starting to have those little ahas, like, oh, I remember that from the training. And so it's just, again, with ETF, it allowed us to really just kind of pinpoint it down, to have that language and ready to talk to those cabinet folks, as well as bringing it and where we can like reach out and really conquer around our large district. So
yeah, well, you just said it. I mean, you said one thing that kind of, you know, got my attention, which is a common language. You know, for truly transformative organizations to take root and actually establish it often is built upon a common language, because if you're not all speaking the same language and talking about the same things and driving with you know, the oars all in the right direction, heading the same direction with each other, then that's when you get chaos. And so I think a lot of this too, I mean, yes, it's diving into each of the pillars and learning things that you didn't know, or like, oh, we should have thought about that, etc. It's a lot of aha moments, but it's also building that foundation together as a team. So tell us a little bit about, you know, you guys joined obviously the workshop, but tell us what stakeholders were actually a part of this. Who did you bring to the table with you to say, hey, we need to come to this workshop together? And so if other schools were thinking about like, hey, we should go through some sort of transformation planning, whether it be the ETF or some other, you know, organization, who should be at the table?
So it was pretty much our team, the customer success team, and Holly's team, the technology training professional development team. But I think probably a couple sessions in was when we realized we should have had some either content supervisors or even some people that are area superintendents or cabinet level people that were part of it as well. I think if we could go back and do it again, we would have brought some of those people into it.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, reflection is always so powerful, right? And then maybe even, you know, I always say like, you might even want a few student voices at the table too. Like what do the kids think? You know, our perception as adults is often very different than what theirs are in general. So I think the more inclusive the stakeholders in some of these conversations, the better. But it sounds like you guys are off to the races. You've got an influencer academy going. You're sharing what the things that you guys learned, and then building this common language through those channels. So it's like the second best thing for sure.
it's exciting for sure. Yeah.
Well,
So
you both. Oh, go ahead, Robin.
You go, Scott.
So you both have worked at the showcase school level, and we often talk about, you know, incubator school, showcase school, but Hillsborough approached this as a district, which a district the size of Hillsborough, getting anything done is a daunting task, right? Even if when you have the most talented people, that's a huge number of schools to service. So having worked in the showcase school arena, how's that different? How do districts think differently than schools? And what has that process been for you guys to kind of think even bigger picture than just doing this at a single site?
Yeah. And for our viewers that don't know, can you guys share how big you are as well, just to give some context?
Do you want to take that one, Holly? Well, I was going to say, with it being school, fortunately, Mr. Weaver and I got to work at the same school. And so a lot of the times that as a teacher, I had a question, I would just go to him and say, can we do this? How could we do this? And then we had a tech team that we would meet. What did we meet? Like every week? Every other week. And so we would meet, and there was, which was a group of teachers and other, educators for the school. And so with that, it was just, trying to get the word out to our community and the school. And so I know it's come up a lot when we've had our meetings, now that we're on the district side, that we've had talked about, having those Tech It Out nights and inviting the stakeholders. And so we talk a lot about, getting the information to the educators and, trying to transform that, teaching side. But really, let's think about the parents and how can we share information to the parents. And so again, it's the school side, I feel, is we were thinking a lot about our community and those stakeholders, but then the district side is a little bit larger, but still the conversations are there, that we're, again, just getting that ball rolling as we continue meeting all our goals of what we really want to do.
So Hillsborough County is the 8th largest district in the nation. We have over 200,000 students in our district. So it is a very big, daunting task trying to get stuff done. Holly and I did work together at a showcase school. And so, like you said, a lot of the stuff that we learned doing on small scale are some of the things that we're taking up and doing on the big scale. So at our school level, we would do Tech It Out nights where we would showcase what students were doing. Now at the district level, when we have a monthly or bi-monthly communication that comes out of ITS, our Information Technology Services, just with tips and tricks and things that are coming up, we're highlighting what a teacher or what another staff member is doing. So instead of it being students that we were showcasing at the school level, we're showcasing staff members trying to build that community up in our district of, hey, this person's doing this at their school. Maybe I could do this at my school, my classroom, and just trying to spread out what's going on so it's not isolated, but it can be learned district-wide.
Yeah, that's been a great, cool tool. And people have been reaching out and sharing, oh, what they said. How'd she do that? That's so cool. How could I learn more about that? And so really just getting our district to embrace the Microsoft ecosystem. Really, it's been an exciting year, and I'm excited to see it continue.
So what questions do you still have? Like, you've gone through this. I mean, we're never at the end. Our journey is always like, it's a cyclical event, right? We're constantly learning, unlearning, trying things out, trying something new, making a decision. Yes, no, maybe. What big questions do you guys still have after going through this that you want to try to explore as your next thing to solve?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I'm like thinking of all the things we've been getting ready, and we're gearing up for, like the MIE, awareness and MIE celebrations, and then all the curriculum mapped information. So yeah, I don't know about a question just yet. I'm just so pumped for all the things. Jimmy, you look like you have a question.
I would think it would be, when we were showcase school, we could collaborate with other showcase schools, and we could even help with some incubator schools to try to have that community back and forth. I think at a district level, it would be nice to find out were there other districts that are either showcase districts or have went through the process, so we could learn from them and then be willing to help out with other districts as they come up and start doing it too.
Yeah, actually at FETC, we got to talk with Orange County and Broward, and so hearing things that are going and what they're doing are amazing, and just kind of hearing, and I love being able to have that collaboration. So yeah, I agree, Jimmy, is just kind of just keeping it together, and how can we connect with more.
Same
Yeah.
thing with the Port St. Lucie ladies. We met them at the Microsoft Education Days in Tampa. And I mean, they are a much smaller district, but we learned a lot from them with the stuff they were doing with the Power Apps and Power BI those days. So
Sounds like you've just developed your own, showcase network right there in Florida.
Sharing
Well,
is caring.
yeah, and I mean, I think it goes back to what this is all about, right? It's about community. It's about, it's the one thing that I love about education, because it's less of a competitive factor. It's more about the sharing and, hey, we're able to do this, you can do this, or how did you do that? I want to apply that here. Where, you get in the rest of the enterprise commercial world out there and they're like, trade secret, not sharing, but sharing is caring in education, right? And it's the power of these communities that you guys have been so critical to form and be an active voice in, that empowers us to be better. I mean, I think especially in this place that we are in our world right now, where it seems to be so much negativity and so much, political stances with inside education, and, teachers that are unhappy and leaving, et cetera. If you can embrace a more of that growth mindset that you guys have, and find your people, find your community, at the end of the day, build a vision for what you want to have happen and be successful, and then go ask your peers or share your awesome with somebody else. And I mean, that's when things are successful, is when you've done something and then someone's repeating it, right? It's that that's like the biggest indicator of success, right? Is when other people are replicating your ideas, but then also for you to replicate those in turn. So I'm just grateful for you all for sharing your viewpoints here, for being part of our community, and then also just for your willingness to want to learn and grow, right? That's commendable in itself. So we definitely, you threw the question out there, Jimmy, like you would like to maybe meet up with some other people who are doing something similar. So we'll take that on at Microsoft.
Okay.
And we've got an entire team of folks across U.S. education here that are working with other school districts. And we've got some other school districts that have maybe taken a different approach, or some things that we can partner you guys up with and have some share backs with each other.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Well, and I love the opportunity this brings. Jimmy, it makes me think back to the early years of the Showcase School program, and we were kind of leading and getting this going. I remember being a Showcase School leader in 2013, and there were only a handful of us. You guys kind of had that opportunity at the district level to be sort of the leaders in this, and kind of be at the forefront of all this work, and obviously Robin and the team at Microsoft making those connections for you. I'm excited for you all and excited to see where this goes.
Yeah. And I think your cabinet's already listening, just so you know. If you haven't heard, I think they're listening. They actually asked us a couple of weeks ago to come and join a cabinet level meeting and talk about learning spaces, which is actually one of our pillars inside of our ETF. So I think they have their ears open and listening, and are looking for ways to deepen this. So yeah, we'll continue those conversations, and know that they are listening. They're ready for you to come share the good word.
Yeah, it's happening. Yay. Yep. Well, thank you guys for having us.
You bet. And it wouldn't be a complete vodcast if we didn't play a little bit of lightning round, if you two are up for it.
Oh.
My favorite thing to do, be put on the spot.
Oh.
These are easy, Jimmy. You'll crush them.
All right, we'll start off with how about this one? What's the app on your phone that you use the most?
Chrome, the web browser, is probably the one I use the most.
Yeah. TikTok? It's sad. I'm not proud of it. I'm like, maybe Outlook, but yeah, probably.
No,
Outlook and TikTok go
It's your fun one, right? We all get our weekly reports of how much time we spend on our phones, so we're all there with you, Holly. No worries. All right. If you could be anywhere in the world right now, where would you want to be?
I'll let you go first, Holly.
Australia, I guess. I don't know. I would say New York City, but I just came back, so.
Mine would be the Bahamas, but probably specifically Bimini and the Bahamas.
Oh,
There's
you
my
had to crush my answer.
Hey, they're both good places to be. You know, it just depends on the time of year, right?
Right.
All right, and then I'll give you one more, and I'll throw some over to Scott. What is the current? What's a current book you're reading, or maybe a series you're watching if you're not a reader?
It's the Little Fires Everywhere. I'm watching that on Netflix. Is it Netflix? No, Hulu. So I don't know. I'm only like 3 in. It seems interesting.
Is that the Reese Witherspoon one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've seen that. I'm terrible at titles.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
I cannot tell you the name of the book, but we are currently going through trying to get caught up with Yellowstone. That is one that we are watching and trying to get caught up to current with.
Nice. I've given it a couple of rounds, and I quite haven't gotten into it, but everybody tells me I just need to give it more time.
Patience.
Yes.
All right, a couple more, and we will get you out of here for the evening. We appreciate your time, obviously. Who is the first teacher name that pops into your head, like your favorite teacher from elementary school, middle school, college? Who's that one educator's name you go to in your career, in your life?
Miss Judkins. She was earth science in high school, and she was just really great and made everything interesting and exciting. And she works at Florida Aquarium now.
Oh, nice.
But with the education side, so I email her, and we're still kind of stay in touch.
That's super cool.
Mine would be Danny Berkner. He was my 4th grade teacher in elementary school, and he I always say he implemented like PBIS before PBIS was a thing. But I still remember the way how he structured his classroom, and then even outside recess teaching us how to play soccer. But just he was someone always was an inspiration. I remember.
Love that. Everybody has at least one name, right? That just comes to mind as soon as you hear that question. I love that. And last but certainly not least, any hobbies or activities or new skills that you picked up over the course of the last couple of years during quarantine and all this stuff?
Jimmy?
Probably more of a love for cooking. That is something that I enjoy doing. Between me and my wife, we have 5 kids as a blended family. And so there are lots of cooking opportunities for big family dinners. So,
what's your favorite food to tag on to that one?
If it's just me, it's chicken wings. That's my go-to, but
nice.
Not to cook them, obviously.
Nice.
Mine is, I'm going to go with Jimmy here, ditto. But I gained the COVID, poundage. So that's what I gained over the break. I didn't learn how to do anything. I just had fun cooking and eating. No, I'm just kidding. But I loved spending time with the kids and playing Uno. We actually played a game tonight. The Uno and all the board games really made a big comeback in our household. And so Pictionary, all of them, whenever we travel, if we go somewhere, we're bringing a game with us. And so I'm excited that was part of something that blossomed over that time.
Yeah,
super
great.
Awesome. Well, this month was obviously Teacher Appreciation Week, which was last week. But we just want to say thank you to both of you. We value all the work that you do. Anybody who has their hand in, dealing with the day-to-day operations of, educating our children definitely gets all the stars in my book. So thank you guys so much for all that you do for your own children, for the students that you influence now in your district level roles, and for your continuous support of your fellow community here at Microsoft Education. We learned so much from you, and we're just grateful to have you both.
Oh, well,
thank you for having us. Thank you for everything you guys do for the teaching community and for the students, and even now for our big district community. Appreciate it.
Looking forward to more conversations in the future.
Awesome. Well, we have lots of love for Hillsborough, so we've even hired a few of you guys. So
yes, you have.
Wonderful. Jimmy, Holly, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We will chat with you soon.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Take care. Really impressive. Fun conversation, right, Robin?
Yeah, I love the fact that they're dreaming big, right? They're
Yeah.
not like, oh, well, we'll start, this small or whatever. They're just like, oh, let's just blow it up. Let's figure out how to do this. So thinking big, dreaming big, and then seeing how they can connect with others too. Like that was integral part of the conversation, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciated that Jimmy recognized that and is actively seeking that out, right? Not just wondering how it could happen, but actually knowing the benefit of having those conversations. I think that's really, really powerful to look outside of your school building, outside of your district office to make those connections.
100%.
Well, we have all kinds of resources to share from tonight's episode. We have links to information about the Showcase School and Incubator program, the assessment tool, all kinds of different things. So if you are interested in finding out more about the ETF and all the great things going on with that wonderful, wonderful tool, please make sure to check out our Wakelet resources. Like we said, a whole host of offerings there. And then, of course, links from previous shows as well that you can look back on. And we will be back with you in a couple weeks. We got just a couple shows left here as we work towards ISTE and the end of season 2. We'll be back here on May 24th talking about the other half of this community, which is the MIEEs, and applications will be live. And I'm fairly certain Victoria's joining us. I don't know whether we totally have her confirmed, but we'll definitely be talking about the MIEEs. And
I'm volunteering her right now. She is confirmed.
She's in.
So looking forward to having Victoria join us in a couple of weeks and be back for some more great discussions and what teachers can do to learn and grow over the summer as they go into that mode of their life, but only after they get some rest and recharging first. That is of utmost important right now.
Number 1. And don't forget to catch all past episodes, including this episode, which you may be watching on demand on our YouTube channel. We have everything from the first 2 seasons, lots of great guests. And we certainly encourage you to go back and check out all of those shows.
Yep. One last shout out for our wonderful guest tonight. Thank you so much, Jimmy and Holly. We appreciate having you on the show, and we'll talk to you all soon. Have a great night, guys.
Great stuff. Have a good night, everybody.